Back in early March, the sculpture at the Isaac Murphy Memorial Art Garden was taken down due to fierce winds. Soon, though, it'll be back up and standing. The sculpture, titled "My Home is a Home and a Track," is in honor of Isaac Murphy, who is considered to be one of the greatest black riders in horse racing history.
We had the big windstorm in March. The sculpture connection to the base, to the pavement, failed, and the sculpture was blown over. The winds were excessively high that day.
Michelle Koziniak from Lexington Parks and Recreation says the sculpture only had a few scratches. These past few months have been used to plan how to make the sculpture's base stronger.
So what we did was we hired a structural engineer to come look at both the sculpture and the base and determine a more robust way to connect it so that it would withstand winds of that speed and higher.
The key differences are changes in hardware and adhesives.
The adhesive is a different type of adhesive that's going to be used. It has a higher strength. And the other thing that we're going to do is we've hired a contractor who's going to collect the sculpture, which is in storage, and bring it to the site to be reinstalled. And they are going to stay on site. I know that the adhesive is an epoxy base, and they're going to stay on site for the full time until the epoxy is cured.
So you should see the sculpture return in the coming weeks.
We've been in contact with the contractor hired to do that, and they've said that they will be available within the next 2 weeks. So sometime in the next 2 weeks.
In Lexington, Ben Beddoes, WKYT.